Hey, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Extra Feature Interview. Today I have a fabulous guest who's going by his nickname, Retro. So his movie, Retro Myrtle Beach Guy, the movie, is what we watched and talked about. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I got a question. I didn't realize this was a YouTube thing until after watching the movie. Is that wrong?
Yeah, I've had a YouTube channel. It's sort of like a travel slash life vlog. 3 or 4 years now I've been running here in town. We started doing some short narratives, sort of like at the end of episodes sometimes. So then we got into the idea of doing a long form narrative.
So why did this come together? I really want to start, like, you're doing this on YouTube already, but now you're making a movie about it.
Yeah, well, there's sort of an underlying motivation here. Being in Myrtle Beach, we're smack dab in between two thriving movie industries. You've got Charleston and Wilmington on either side of us, where they're filming. I mean, what Righteous Gemstones right now in Charleston? They're always filming in the Outer Banks. So literally all around us, there's tons of movies being made. And as a result, all the young people here, there's a lot of performers and actors and talent, and it's sort of in their head that they're like, well, I want to make it one day and leave Myrtle Beach. And I guess I just sort of, we wanted to get to a point where, like, well, you can make it here, you can get discovered here. It's a shame because it's become like a talent drain for our community, where everyone's like immediately like, I need to go to LA or whatever. It's like, okay, well, there goes more of our bright shining locals.
Okay, let's get into the movie. You have a
That's
pink
it.
car shot right off the beginning. I'm convinced that was planned.
I wish, most of that shot was, it's ironic. Today is Memorial Day here in the US.
It is.
And South Carolina is, the home of Memorial Day. It actually began here, was after a bunch of Black Union soldiers were sort of thrown in a mass grave. The locals got together and honored them and buried them properly, and that grew into Memorial Day. But that was actually all shot on Memorial Day last year.
The whole,
A lot of the footage was just sort of B-roll footage that I had sitting on my camera. Whether or not it's super obvious, the whole thing was shot and edited on my iPhone, as all of my stuff is.
so do you find it easy to shoot in an iPhone? I mean, obviously you can't get a lot of depth at times. I understand that. You get a little bit, but you
There's a
can't
pretty good,
really get
these
what you
cameras
want.
these days, they're quite good. And iPhone, the what is it, iMovies, the editing program I
Mhm.
use, the simplest bare bones stuff. And it's the storytelling is really where it's at. So much in the new, I mean, you see in Hollywood, it's all about how crystal clear all the graphics are and whether the CGI is really good. And we grew up with Hitchcock, where like we didn't see the monster. That's what made it scary. And half the things look like Alf these days or whatever. Coming, these monsters, it's not scary anymore when you can see it so clearly.
So you have no shot selection then planned throughout the movie. You're just trying to make a narrative at some point.
Basically.
Okay.
Well, this one, it's funny. We joke at the end saying it was based on real life events, and to some extent, it was. The opening scenes. I go to Peach's Corner, which is our historic local whatever lunch counter here, and very recently switched from Pepsi to Coke, and that
We
that
do
raised
discuss
my
that. I'm gonna
yeah
get there later.
it raised my blood pressure. So a lot of the stuff, my air conditioner really did go out in the van. So a lot of
Okay.
the concepts just came from things that were actually happening. I hate to use the comparison, but sort of in the curb sense, like it was derived from things that were really going on in our lives, and at the same time, completely unscripted. The whole thing was just on a whim.
Okay, since you brought up two things, I'll jump to those.
Sure.
Did you ever get the air conditioner fixed? Because you didn't really in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't even address it. It's funny. It's the one stupid joke about it is when my co-host Radioactive Tiki asks, he's like, is all this worth it to get the air conditioner fixed? And I'm like, air conditioner? What the heck are you talking about? That's completely lifted from a Simpsons episode.
Oh, okay.
It's the one where Homer got the medicinal marijuana card, and after a while, Marge is like, "What does this have to do with fixing your eyes?" At some point, it's like, "Eyes? The heck are you talking about?" But yeah, it's all that kind of stuff. I've lost the root. What was the point of talking about this now?
Did you ever get the air conditioner fixed?
Yes, the air conditioner was fixed. Actually, we had to get it fixed 3 times, which is why the wife's annoyance when she's like again, because it actually did break the third time while we were filming, and I was like, I'll use this, use it for your art, right?
Wow. Yeah, I want to go back to, okay, you do discuss Peach's Corner. Is this your
Yes.
favorite place to go to?
Ah, I would get in too much trouble, I guess. I review a lot of places if I said I had a favorite, but
Well, I
for hot
definitely feel
dogs,
this is your favorite.
I do go there a lot. For hot dogs on the beach, though, yeah, I mean, you really can't beat it. It's been there since '37. It's an institution in our town, so I always like supporting businesses like that.
Okay, you do draw attention to the Coke Pepsi thing.
Yeah,
You definitely are upset by this. I mean, visually upset.
yeah, it
Was
is.
that
It's a
all
real
for
life
show,
thing.
or is that just you liking Pepsi better? Oh, never mind. He
I'm
does hold me Pepsi. So yeah, there's my answer.
literally drinking Pepsi right now. Yeah, they changed. I guess the people who were supplying their soda at Peaches. I think it was last year, or the year before. And yeah, Carolina, Carolina is the home of Pepsi. It was born in North Carolina, not too far from Mayberry, where Andy Griffith is from. So it's a sticking point for me. It's important that we support local businesses. It's a big part of everything we do, actually. Most of the places in there, there's the Chinese restaurant that we filmed one of the scenes at. That's a historic Chinese restaurant, which actually sadly is closing, and they're liquidating all their beautiful artwork from inside as we speak. It's a part of my show that I really it's fun and sad at the same time. Even though a lot of people think of it as like a travel show. Like if I'm going to Myrtle Beach, what places do I want to go to? It's really me documenting a lot of the changes that have been happening, a lot of the mid-century motels that have been torn down that we filmed in episodes or in scenes in some of our narratives and stuff like that are gone now. It's the only place they're immortalized is in film, basically.
So is that why you show us the hotel with the vacancy sign? You do go and you definitely show us that, or are you just walking by that?
That is actually from an episode of my show. The good people at Arriva hosted me for 2 nights up there. We were going to a nearby fire Polynesian luau event. So we stayed at this beautiful, it's called Holiday Shores Hotel. And yeah, that was just some footage that I had shot while I was up there. And yeah, a lot of the stuff is recycled from the show, basically, which is fun too, because if you watch the show, you'll get to see all the little Easter eggs.
Okay, so when you're doing a narrative for this, how did you go about doing it? Obviously, you have outtakes. You've explained this to me, but you got to make this somewhat coherent for me to watch, which you did.
I tried. There's this. It's a kind of a weird philosophy that I've been. It's not like I believe in it, but I've been actively using when making our narratives. Is I kind of call it like the quilt tactic. So, if I'm making a rom com or whatever it is, you're like, okay, if I'm making a rom com, you got to have your meet cute. You got to have your dinner scene where something goes wrong, when they meet the family and he embarrasses himself. You just think of all the typical scenes you'd see in a rom com, and then you shoot those. And then you go, now, what scenes do I shoot in between to make these scenes go together, essentially? And that's kind of how it goes. We know the stuff that we want to be in the movie, and then we sort of figure out how it makes sense afterward.
Yeah, but you don't really have, other than yourself and your co-host, one other actor pretty much for the whole thing, other than random
Yeah,
people you meet.
yeah. There's the guy Stefan, who works at Peaches, who literally walked in and said, "Hey, do you want to be in the movie? Can you just say this line?" Which I think gave one of the better performances. Both of our wives are also in the movie, which was funny because I got so caught up in the end with doing sound editing that I realized when I put it out, I forgot to put them in the credits at all. But those are our wives. I don't know that they'd want to be honestly credited with that, but yeah, it's a lot of it's just people we know. I don't know if you saw, it's like on IMDb, our budget we estimated about $60 because we
That
went out
I
to
would
dinner
totally give
once.
you that too.
Yeah, most of the stuff is just stuff we had sitting around the house. All the props and everything are just things we had or that I bought at some point thinking this will be a good prop one day for something.
Okay, you guys drink a ton of beer. Every scene pretty much has a beer shot. Is this
Yeah.
a normal thing for you guys doing your show to have a beer every episode?
It's funny as it is, and I I probably should clarify for my audience. If people didn't know that their week goes by, and that's probably the first Corona that I've had all week. I'm a new dad, so I get freedom for about one day, usually about Saturday a week, and I'll have a little fun that day. But then the rest of the time it's diapers and
No, I understand.
Pepsi. So, but yeah, it's funny. I've had someone not that long ago was like, "This guy's an alcoholic," and I'm like, you could get that impression if you didn't know better.
Well, because every episode you sit down at a new bar, you're at
Oh
home,
yeah,
you're having.
somewhere.
I totally get where they're coming from. I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
take you as an alcoholic. I just figured I was watching different days,
yeah,
and you were
yeah.
having
You're
a
looking at
beer on different days, and it was always
maybe 1 to 3
Corona. So
a
I'm
week.
like, so I was just laughing about it. That was all to
Yeah,
me.
and it's funny too because since I've been hanging out with Radioactive Tiki, my co-host, the drinks get so much stronger that oh my goodness, it's usually one. And one zombie is about all I can handle.
Only well, we can't hang out then. Your musical choices. You use a lot of music in this film. I want people to know, and I know you're cheating a lot to get to your next scene. Don't get me
Oh,
wrong.
oh yeah.
It's well aware to me, but I'm like, this is his movie. I'm gonna let him have it. Why these musical choices?
Um, I use a lot of music in everything that I use. My YouTube channel, the real, I'll say, rare thing about it that I do is I'm not monetized, and I refuse to ever be so because it cuts your creative, abilities. You can't. Now, I never curse on the show. I never curse. I think again, I say, I think I say the HE double hockey sticks words in the movie,
Oh,
which for me is a stretch. When I knew I was going to become a dad, I forcefully cleaned my language up about a year in advance. And I have a lot of kids for some reason who watch my show, and I'm always unsure what their parents are allowing them to watch a guy get drunk in various bars for. But knowing that a lot of kids see it, I try to keep my act clean, which is funny too, because like our we have another project coming up, which is it's basically like a grindhouse mob movie, and like despite gore and other things, we're still like, well, you can't say damn, you know. You gotta rewrite that. We can't say it that way. So I try to keep it as family friendly as possible.
so you go back. Do you think kids have watched your movie yet, or have they? Can they? I guess it's on YouTube. You sent it to me. I don't know if it's a private link or not.
I it's funny is that my most popular supporters, I'll say, are actually other YouTubers. And there's a wonderful family YouTube out of the Smoky Mountains, the Smoky Mountains family, and they come occasionally. We went mini golfing in one episode, and they've got the two sweetest daughters. And he sent me a picture. They're on vacation somewhere. They're in the hotel room watching the movie. He's like they wanted to watch it again. He's like it's probably their sixth or seventh time through. So, yeah, we just try to be aware of that stuff when making it.
What's the fascination with mini golf? Like you guys are hammering mini golf all movie
Yes.
long.
Well, there are over 50 mini golf courses here in the Grand Strand. We, I believe, have the highest concentration in the world.
Uh,
It was invented just a little bit above the border in North Carolina, so it's a regional thing's real big. Since I was a kid, I mean, I have pictures of me literally 4 or 5 years old at these mini golf courses with my parents. Since we used to come here on vacation when I was a kid, so yeah, even some of the courses we shot at, I think Jungle Lagoon was one of the big ones, and I've got pictures of me as a kid there. So yeah, it's a big part of the culture here.
so I should ask, are you good at it?
Mini golf, I'm exceptional. I've never actually tried to compete. We do have the Masters of Mini Golf here that competes, which is insane. They have real cups. But yeah, I just play for fun. I've been doing it for 30 some years now. So I've yet to lose to someone that I've played with. I'll just put it that way.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge, people. You gotta go to South
Yeah,
Carolina and find them.
I am here.
Okay.
I've got the trophies.
Shows that are on the background. I'm going to touch on a few. Adam's Family. Is this one of your favorites? Because you go on about it quite a lot.
I do, well, so we talk about the Munsters. I was raised more as a Munsters family. And I actually, in the movie, there's a clip, I have an autograph from Butch Patrick, who's the wolf boy, little Eddie Munster from the Munsters. Adam's Family is a classic, though. I love, the 90s movies were some of my favorite. That whole era of movie making is what inspired a lot of you remember movies were just fun for a while. You didn't really have to think, and they didn't have to have a message like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and stuff like that. It was just a goofy, fun romp for a couple hours. When Ernest was king, that kind of movie.
Okay. You throughout the film, I want people to know in their house, it's all retro.
Yeah, I
I
try.
Where's this stuff coming from? Like everywhere I look, I'm like, I know that, I know that, and I'm old, so no young kid is knowing what I'm looking at.
Yeah, well, and that's the funny thing too is that I get my audience is very diverse, and I get a lot of young kids who are super into what I'm into, and it's funny because I mean we're probably about the same age, and when we were coming up, the '60s was just becoming retro because it was about 20 years before.
You're
So your
correct.
John Kays, your Ren and Stimpy's, all that stuff had such a heavy '60s influence. All the dads looked exactly like me, with the I smoke a pipe and the whole nine yards. So that kind of stuff has just always been with me. Being from Baltimore, and that's super influential there, the mid-century. And yeah, I drive a '63 Corvair, and all our furniture and stuff like that's generally pretty retro. But it
I
comes from
gotta
the
say, it did upset me when that car didn't go out enough. When you said it was too hot for that car, I emotionally got upset.
Well, so oh god, that's another one of the things that is so funny. The van became instrumental because the Corvair actually broke right after the mall scene. I got home from the mall scene and it died in the driveway, and we got it running again Easter, and then it died again. But the fifth, we were going back in. I've got all the parts ordered, and we're gonna everything we did. It's all built, not bought. So it's me and my buddies that just put it together and maintained it ourselves.
Okay, Oily McFlame. I don't know what that is.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Oily McFlame. You say that during the movie. Something like Oily McFlame. Is it a restaurant?
It's possible. I might have been referencing a Olympic Flame.
Oh, Olympic Flame. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what you said, and I did not
Yes.
hear you right.
Yeah,
And I
that is
put a
a
question
breakfast
mark.
place. It's a breakfast place here in town, and it's funny. It's a great example. There is they had this beautiful retro neon sign that was out front that blew down. I think it was Hurricane Ian, and so that's the only place you can see it now is in the movie. But yeah, wonderful breakfast.
Okay, Mitsumusha, you told me is closing down, right? The restaurant?
Yeah, Mitsua's. It used to be called Hoa back in the '50s or '60s and '70s. And it has this gorgeous back room that they did not let anyone back in, and a giant carved golden dragons and sparkly golden booths and gorgeous place. I don't know what they're thinking. We were trying to have tiki parties in the back room, and he wouldn't even let us rent the room. So we are trying to at least buy as much of that stuff and preserve it as possible. But yeah, they were an institution for a long time here.
Okay. What's the issue with the mall?
I guess as you can tell from my wardrobe and from the house that I live in, I just don't ever shop at the mall.
I
And
don't either.
I mean, maybe holidays, I might go in to get something for like cousins and sisters, and because they don't want my Goodwill, findings. My mom would. Her and me exchange Goodwill finds all the time for holidays. But yeah, I just never and it's funny too because that was my first time in the mall in a long time. And yeah, like I had it was, oh gosh, some of the shoes and clothes in some of these stores were just so ugly that I had to document it. And I feel so bad because everyone's so helpful, and I'm just like, yeah, and like filming, like not telling them I'm doing this because this is all really hideous. I'm trying to mock your clothing here. But yeah, at the malls, I mean, maybe back in the day it was more of a thing, but it's pretty much all the eBay and Goodwill these days.
I'm with you. I have two questions. One is, do you only own Hawaiian Cayenne shirts?
I do have a few Guyaberas, I'll say. But yeah, mostly button ups. Actually, I have my closet full of them right next to me now. But it's an issue of humidity here. A
Okay.
t-shirt, no matter how space age it is like wearing a torture device essentially. You're soaked 5 minutes later. But luckily these
Wow.
things breathe well. So it's something almost everyone learns after a couple of years of living here. You're just like, I gotta stop wearing black t-shirts everywhere because I keep having heat strokes.
Fair enough. The other question I have, I can see it in this video and you can see it in the movie. Your tattoo.
Yeah.
What is it? I couldn't figure it out.
The one on my collarbone is it's brass knuckles. And
That's okay.
it actually goes to the whole retro thing too. Is back in the like the 50s, 60s, the street toughs, like if you had like a switchblade and you sang in a doo-wop band, that kind of thing. They would often have a tattoo across the chest that would have either brass knuckles, a switchblade, or something, and it would say "Love thy neighbor." And it was, it's actually a super lame story. I was in Chicago working with a group that gives elderly people free heat in the winter, and I treated myself, and I was like, I was like, what's a good thing to say? I look out for my neighbors and whatever, and the guy's like, this is how you do that back in the day. So yeah, Chicago, I got that one. My tattoos are actually all from different places: L.A., Baltimore, New York, and Chicago, and Myrtle Beach.
Okay. Have you ever played real golf?
I actually have. I'm pretty good at golf. Um, I bring it up a little bit in the movie. Actually, I have Tiki bring it up in the movie, but my real objection to golf, and I may get crucified here in the golf capital of the world, when you get off the airport, there's a sign that says Golf City, USA to give you an idea about Myrtle Beach. The biodiversity and water usage things are really my issues with golf.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you
real
do
estate.
comment on that.
Yeah, things like affordable housing, I think, should probably come before rich people being able to play golf. In my neighborhood back home in Baltimore, actually, it was wild because the neighborhood I lived in was really depressed area, but it used to be very wealthy back in the day. And as a result, there's a golf course right across the street from like the slums. And so it was always a very dynamic class division there. But I love me some mini golf, and I do like driving. I mean, the short game is where it's at. If you're good at the short game, then you're a good golfer. Anybody these days with these space age clubs can hit 400 yards.
Is there anything you wanted to add to your film you didn't get to? Like, just, I wish I could got that shot, a place go down, somebody told you no.
That's actually funny because there was supposed to be a whole other scene to the movie. So one of my personal heroes, at least I should say professional heroes, because in his personal life he was kind of a nutcase. But Ed Wood, the great, late great Ed Wood, um, you know, it, the part where, oh hey, we can't quite get the scene, and it's like, okay, rewrite. We'll just we just won't have
Yes.
that scene, and we'll make it make sense later. There was supposed to be an entire scene at the end where we were being chased by an agent of a certain entity, which I won't name here because I may use it later. And then it just turned out that day, the guy who we had for it was busy. And I was like, well, I need this done by Halloween. So we'll just cut the scene. I think I edited that day and then threw it up. So everything I do is usually pretty quick. I try to pump out as much as possible. I mean, as a result, we're in the middle of filming our next project. Then we have our Christmas film, and then hopefully a sequel to this, all in the next year.
You guys have way more time than I do.
Well, luckily, it really doesn't take much time. I think we actually filmed that whole movie over. I mean, you could probably break it down about 8 hours. It was about maybe 3 or 4 sessions,
Oh,
and
I can believe that.
yeah,
I'll
it
back
doesn't
you
take.
up 100% on that.
We're
But that's
trying a
the
little
point of
harder
your film.
now.
That's the point of the film. I want everybody to know it's a fun film. You got to treat it for what it is.
Well, that and as it was an exercise for us in that I'd never made obviously any kind of movie before. We'd only done short-term narratives, and I figured you got to have your first terrible all the mistakes, everything you need to learn, you're going to learn it at some point. You might as well just do it real quick. And then, so I was actually, my wife earlier, we're both kind of shocked at how much better the next project looks already. And we just started a couple weeks ago. And it's like, this is only 6 months ago, and how much I guess I learned in that process already.
Okay, I have no more questions for you, so I can move on to some fun questions.
There we go.
Because I know you're starting to follow me on my socials, so that tells you may
Yeah.
be prepared, which is
Yeah.
not good
Actually,
for
I
me.
spent the last couple hours listening to the to the
Uh-oh.
different episodes.
Now you know what you're getting
Which I have to
into.
say, excellent. I worked in journalism back in the day. Excellent interviewing skills. You're going places.
Wow, I wish I have a full-time job. This is like you treat this, I treat this. This is my fun job.
Hey,
I
that's
just
pretty much where I'm at.
I have no sponsors, people. I do take donations on PayPal if you can find the button, because I don't know how to put it on there. And that's
Right.
extra features at Gmail. Just send me, I'll figure it out. But let's go to your fun questions, because I may have more, because you seem like a
Yes, sir.
fun guy. I know there's only supposed to be 3, but I might do more. Who knows? First time on the show, you always get the same one, but you already know what it is. So your answer is,
Oh, you're gonna have to refill me, refresh me here.
oh, your favorite film,
Sorry. Oh God, yeah. That's a tough one. I would have to say John Waters' Hairspray.
which is a fabulous film.
The connections. I grew up right by that high school, man. The radio station where the kids were dancing, or the TV station, that was right on the corner. I could walk there, and it's one of my favorite stupid stories is that our local corner bar, when he was filming Dirty Shame, with Johnny Knoxville, Selma Blair, or yeah, Selma Blair. He walked into our corner dive bar because that's what he does. He always researches an area before he made a movie. And so we were outside smoking a cigarette, and I came inside, went to sit down, and I realized John Waters is standing where we were standing. Like, oh man, like it's like seeing, Godzilla or something. And my buddy taps him on the shoulder. Hey, bud, I was sitting there. So I'm like horrified, like, oh my God, dude, like, do you not know who this is? Like, you got to stop. And John, the sweetest man on earth, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Let me buy you a drink. And I was like, no, man, like the drinks are on us. I'm shoving my buddy out of the way. Like, shut up, dude. But yeah, it's just so much Baltimore and the 60s. It's based in 63, same year as my car and my wardrobe. That was the greatest year in music, honestly. Every single song that was a hit then, we all know the words to, whether you like that kind of music or not. So yeah, yeah, Hairspray.
Okay. If I ever post this video, because I'm terrible at posting videos because I hate editing. I see Pokemon behind you. Since I'm a
Yes.
huge Pokemon Go fan and play, what is your favorite Pokemon? And I have a
I
part 2 question to that.
I honestly, I couldn't even tell you. I know some of them. This is my wife's office. She tutors kids and uses Pokemon to teach about science. So this is her
Really?
back, yeah, and her when she's teaching, that's what I guess, Snorlax. He's the fat one, right?
He's the fat one that eats all the time. You
Yeah,
are
that sounds like
correct.
I like him. I got the little Snorlax sign there.
Okay. Your favorite film of last year?
Retro Myrtle Beach guy, the movie.
That's your answer. I'll accept it.
Honestly, I'm trying to think if I remember seeing any other movies last year. It's not been a great decade or so for Hollywood. I feel like there was one time when all of a sudden, we had our Brady Bunch movies, and the 90s had some
That was
incredibly
early 90s.
fun media, man. It was a golden age when everything that came out it was just fun, you didn't have to think too much. And then over time, I think with the CGI and the actors and everything's got like Seth Rogen or Chris Pratt in it now, and I kind of don't have any interest in seeing things
Hey,
anymore.
that's
I want to
fair.
see when John Waters' new oh, what's that new movie he still can't get funding for? Whenever that comes out, that's what I want to go see next.
Okay. Last fun question for
Is
you,
it?
because I know you watch cartoons.
Oh yeah,
Your favorite cartoon?
it would be fairly obvious to anyone who is a fan. It's the Flintstones, 110%.
I totally give you that.
we actually formed Loyal Order of Water Buffaloes Lodge here. Me and a bunch of guys,
Nice.
we have our own fezzes, and we get together at the Dino Land Cafe, is our lodge where we go out for beers and
I
stuff. So
love it. I love it.
yeah. And hopefully, I know there was supposed to be a revamp with Elizabeth Smart was trying to get through Hollywood. So I'm still crossing my fingers on that coming out, because it, with the Flintstones kids and all that stuff in the late 80s, it really kind of made people get confused and think the Flintstones was a children's show, and it's very
No,
much an adult
definitely
show. And
not.
half it's about bikini contests and stuff like that.
Okay, I can't let you go. Last thing, pimp out your channel. So, or anything else you want, now's a great time.
Yeah, well, obviously, Retro Myrtle Beach guy. I'm on YouTube. We got lots of stuff on the history of Myrtle Beach, and obviously, we're going to be working on a lot of new projects too. Our next big one's going to be a sci-fi grindcore noir mob movie. So it's alien mafia. That'll be called Mint Jelly, and hopefully coming out this summer. And they've got the trailer out already on Spine Native Studios and on my Facebook page and stuff like that. It's starring Radioactive Tiki. He'll be taking the lead role this time, and yeah, let's just say I've learned a lot from this this last project, and it looks a lot better, and it's been a fun project with SFX and all kinds of fun things to work on. So, and all practical effects with this movie.
Excellent. Thank you for your time and have a great night.
Thank you so much for having me, man.